Hello everybody, welcome to episode 3 of the Minecraft Spigot Plugin 1.19 series. And in this video we are going to add a new command, which is /distance, as well as subcommands. So to get started, we're going to go ahead and we are actually going to register it first. So we're going to do get command, and we're going to put our command name in, and our command name is going to be distance. We're going to do set executor new DistanceCommand. Now, it's going to give you an error because this doesn't exist yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to commands, we're going to go to new, and we're going to make a Java class, and this is going to be called DistanceCommand. And you can implement command executor like before, and if you go over here, you can import this, and you see that this should have no errors. Then, we're going to hover over this, and we're going to do implement methods. Okay, so to get started, we're going to go ahead and change return false to return true. This we are going to move around a lot because it's not always going to return true because there are two variations of this command. So to get started, we are just going to do a simple if statement. If command.getName.equals ignore case is going to be distance. Okay, so I didn't actually notice this until just now, but that statement is redundant. You don't need to check what the command name is, since it's not one entire class holding all the commands, and each command has its own class. So you don't need to add the if command.getName.equals ignore case distance, because it's just unnecessary. I just did it completely out of habit because typically I will have all of my commands in one class all together and referring to them with the same executor, but you just don't need to do that. It's unnecessary. Then we can load this up. Then what we can do actually is in this we can check and args.length does not equal 0. And what this will do is it'll get args, which are the things after our commands, our subcommands. So you've got, so like /command, sub, etc. And so we are checking that there are more than we are checking that there are more than no commands. Now from here, what we're going to do is we're going to do if args.length is greater than 0. Actually, we can just do equals 1. Then we can do if sender is instance of player. And we can go ahead and drop an else loop here, and this could just be sender.sendMessage. Incorrect syntax. Only players can run this command. I'll put command format. We'll say only players can use this command format. Because what this would just be /distance Quackton, for example, which would just get the distance between you and Quackton. But we're gonna have another one, which would be /distance words don't make sense in Quackton. And this would get the distance between words don't make sense in Quackton. Okay, so there are two variations in this. Now, bear with me because this might get a bit complicated. So for this, what we're going to do is we're going to do bucket, and we're going to import that, .get player, and what we're going to do is we're going to put in sender.getName. Okay, so this will get the player, get world, .get players. And we're actually going to want to make this an if statement since we're going to be using a contains, so we're going to make this an if statement. If this contains bucket.getPlayer, and we're going to pass in args, and we're going to pass in the 0th arg. So like I showed you before with the /command sub, this is the 0th, this is the first, and this is the second. So we're getting this first one right after the command, because ArrayList start at 0, and we need to make sure we're getting the right one. And we need to pass in another thing, which is that bucket.getPlayer. Actually, you know what we can do? Player equals bucket.getPlayer. Actually, we're going to want to make this player 2. Is bucket.getPlayer arg 0. This will return null if nobody if nobody's in the game. So what we can do is right here we can do player2 does not equal null, and they're in the same world, and we can replace this right here with player2. Okay, so and it contains a definition for player2. So we can do player2.getLocation.distance, and we can pass in sender. Now we're actually going to do one more thing real quick, which is just we're just going to pass through right here. We're just going to do player1 equals sender casted as a player object. So just like that, and we're going to do the location of player1 and player2, and we're going to want to make this .getLocation. And what we're going to do is we're going to make an int, and this is going to be called distance, and this is going to be equal to this object casted to an int because this returns a long. Now, what we are going to do is we're going to do sender.sendMessage, and this is going to say, first we're going to pass in player2.getName plus is, and then plus distance plus blocks away from you. Now we're going to add in another method next to this. Right here we're going to do an else if args.length equals 2, or actually we can just do is greater than 1, so we can allow for overflow. Now this will all be the same on the inside. This we don't need to check for players, so we can just grab this, copy, paste. And instead of this, we are going to have player1 be args0 and player2 be args1. So we also need to check that player1 is not equal to null. So player1 is not equal to null and player2 is not equal to null. And right here we can pass in player1.getWorld if they're in the same world. So everywhere it says sender, we can do, except for here. So right here, this would be player2, player1. So these are the same, right? So this, instead of saying from you, we can pass in a plus there. And we can put player1.getName. And if you want, you can flip these around if you like that better. But this is essentially done. Now we are going to want to load it up and test it out because there's a very good chance that this won't work, which is okay, you know. You want to check. And you might be looking at this and might be like, this makes no sense. I don't know why this wouldn't work, but you never know. So now, yeah, this all works out. If you want to, you can add in other formatting. So I'm going to make this chatcolor.red, incorrect syntax and whatnot. And over here, I'm going to add chatcolor.gold and then chatcolor.white. So like stuff like this. If this is confusing at all, be sure to leave a comment below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. And I will try to help you guys understand this. And as soon as I can, I will be putting a GitHub link in the description, but I do believe there's a minimum requirement to be able to put links in a description. I don't think I've hit it yet, but I can check again. But yeah, I mean, this is pretty straightforward. Now, there's only one more thing to do, which is to go to our Plugin.YML, and we can add another command. Distance, aliases, this can be ds, yeah, that'll work. And then we've got usage, which is /distance. Permission could be TutorialPluginCommand.ds. You could also put distance, gets the distance between two players. And down here we can do gets the nearest player to you. So there's one more thing I want to modify too, which is in the NearestCommand, we don't really have an else here. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to do an else, and we're going to do sender.sendMessage, chatcolor.red, and we're going to put the same thing we put here, except we're going to change one thing, which is, well, for one, we're going to put this in quotes. We are just going to reformat. Incorrect syntax. Only players can use this command. Now, I want to add a help to the NearestCommand because So here's the thing, because this is our main command here, right? Actually, no, we'll make one more command and this will have the help command. So, I will title this Tutorial Plugin Command. Okay, and I'm gonna kind of go through this. I'm just gonna implement command executor, etc. Implement methods. I'm gonna go pretty fast, but we're just gonna make it pretty simple. So so we're gonna do if command dot get name. Wait, we don't need to do any of that because this is very specific. So what we can do is we can just do sender.send message, and I'm gonna make a new blank line just like that. Then I'm going to put in chatcolor.gold, and it's just going to say tutorial plugin commands. And then I'm going to go down here, and I'm also gonna add chatcolor.bold.toString, and I'm also going to add in the command. So this one's going to be tutorial plugin help. Actually, we don't even just put help. And then we'll just add, I'm gonna add a space right there. And I'm just gonna do chatcolor.gray. And this is going to say, displays plugin information. And actually we can do one more thing, which is we can put this in an if args. Actually, okay, so now that you know the general gist of how to make subcommands, I'm gonna give you guys a challenge. I want you guys to use essentially what I just showed you here and write your own definitions, or you can copy mine after the fact, but at least write placeholders for these commands. And I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna do a jump cut until this is finished, and you can compare yours to mine. If you like yours better, that's fine. You don't have to you don't have to listen to me at all. But once we're done, I'm going to show you, explain the code, and be there. All right, I am back, and this is what I have. So this is my help command, my help subcommand. So my two commands are tutorial plugin help, and just regular old /tutorial plugin. Now, regular old /tutorial plugin will just display plugin information, which is just the version, who it's created by, which is me. You can put your own name. I don't need any credit for this. This is a learning experience. And I did this really fancy thing. These are my two commands. You don't need to worry too much about the tell raw stuff. I'm gonna put this in the commit. So if you go to the GitHub, which should hopefully be in the description, but I'm not sure yet, you'll be able to find it there. Now, another thing I want to do is I'm going to modify the NearestCommand to add another person. So the only thing you really need to modify is this part right here, which is this entire for loop, and these messages down here. So what I can do is I can do if. Actually, you don't even need to modify this for loop. We can do if args equals 1. Actually, if args.length equals 1, and bucket.getPlayer args 0 is not equal to null, then what we can do is we can just set player equal to bucket.getPlayer args 0. All we've got to do. Now, this will loop through like normal, find the person. The only difference is we're going to want to change this part. So what we're going to do is if player as sender is not equal to player, then we're going to want to say the nearest player to NearestPlayer.getName. So what we're going to do is player.getName here instead. So we're going to want to close out of this. We're just going to want to, and we're going to do player.getName. So the nearest player to player.getName is blanks. They are this many blocks away from plus player.getName. That's the only difference. This just changes what it says. Sort of. I'm not too confident in this code, which is all right. So instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to do bucket.getPlayer, and I'm going to pass in sender.getName does not equal player. That easy. So because I was not confident that that would work, I changed it. That's fine. You can test it. Doesn't matter. Do what you do best. And I'm going to throw an else loop in here, and because of the syntax, we don't need curly braces since it's only one line. So this part's done. Another thing you might want to do is right here where it says you are alone in this world is, instead we can do if this is you, else you can do just player name. And this can just say is alone in this world. Yeah, and that's it. That should, in theory, work. We're gonna test it. It's all gonna be good. Now, one more thing we do need to do before we hop into that is register the tutorial plugin command. And aliases could be, we're not gonna do TP, but I can do TutorialP and tplugin. And we don't do TP because otherwise, I think you can see how that would end well when you're trying to, how that wouldn't end well when you're trying to teleport. And this could just be called tutorial plugin, usage/tutorial plugin, and description displays helpful information about the plugin. Boom. These should actually be in triple braces because they multi-line, but it's whatever, honestly. And so yeah, that is this done entirely. The only thing left to do is build it, run it, test it, etc. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna commit this to the GitHub and we can try it. But there's one more thing we need to do, which is git command, and we can pass in tutorial plugin and set executor new tutorial plugin command. Boom, and I'm gonna rearrange this like this simply because this is our main command. So yeah, if you want to, you can go in here, you can change things like, instead of saying incorrect syntax, you can just respond with the help command. But if you want to do that, one thing I do suggest doing is making a public static void sendHelpCommand, and what this will pass through is a command sender, and that's it. And essentially what you do is just copy this, and here I'll put sendHelpCommand, and you paste it right there. Boom, done. And then we just pass in sender. And now from anywhere, if you wanted to send a help command, so like right here, for example, which you wouldn't necessarily, but you could do TutorialPluginCommand.sendHelpCommand and pass in the sender, and it'll send the help command. And yeah, and I'm gonna build this and load this up in the server and test it out. Alright, so now I'm here with the dummy account because he's not here right now, so I'm just logged onto his computer. And if we do TP Griffin P Gamer, let's say 1,000 blocks away by chance. Okay, now if I do /distance Griffin P Gamer, it'll tell me that he is 1399 blocks away from me, and if I put my name in there too, it'll say 1399. And if I do it the other way around, it says it too. Now if I do /nearestPlayer, we can see that Griffin is 1399 blocks away from me. And if I do nearestPlayer Griffin P Gamer, it'll say it's me. If I do nearestPlayer of myself, it'll say it's Griffin. And yeah, that is everything. Yeah, you can mess around with the formatting. I will before I put it to GitHub. Yeah, thank you so much for watching, you guys, and that's it for this video. Bye.